Mandap constructed over the rock, fury of wind and water. Another event that preceded the birthday was the 8th All India Conference of the Sai Seva organizations. While the celebrations were in progress, it became known that a terrific cyclone had hit the Andhra coast. A tidal wave over 20 feet high had swept over the coast and spent itself about 30 to 40 miles inland. The devastation inflicted by both wind and water was enormous. Tens of thousands died caught by the waves. A large number of cattle lost their lives, and coconut groves over several square miles were toppled. Scores of villages were washed off the face of the earth. The few who survived were confronted by disease, despair, and decimation. Bhagwan directed the Seva Dal from Andhra to rush to the area even while the festival was progressing at the Nilayam. Truckloads of cloth, rugs, garments, and whatever could be laid hold of were got ready to be transported by devotees to the affected areas. More than 8 lakh rupees poured into the bank for relief work. 4 relief camps were quickly established in the afflicted areas along with a complement of trained Seva Dal members, both men and women, including teams of doctors. Remote spots which had been isolated by the floods were selected. I witnessed a massive transport of provisions and materials in the form of head loads by devotees. They had to wade through slush and mire, braving the stench of rotten corpses and carcasses. Indeed, the first task was to bury or burn the dead, lying in heaps on the ground and caught in trees and bushes. Kitchens, which provided food for over 5,000 forlorn victims, kept working for more than a month in 4 strategic centers: Katamajeru, Gudapalam, Adavula Divu, Ganapavaram, and Baranakula, in the region lashed by furious elements. From some kitchens, cooked food was taken to even more remote places, and the victims were fed whenever they were found. Children were given milk and special foods. Besides these, the Seva Dal erected hundreds of hutments to enable people to continue their normal occupations of fishing and farming. They were given sets of kitchen utensils and cooking vessels, as well as garments, reed mats, and rugs. Bhagwan assured the children who were orphaned by the calamity that he would be their guardian. When the relief centers were closed, the exhausted Seva Dal workers gladly noted that the faces of the village folk around them were lit with gratitude, contentment, and devotion towards Bhagwan. In order to avoid such colossal loss of life in future, Bhagwan directed the Seva organizations to build at each place where they served a community hall for the people, which would serve as a shelter whenever wind and wave rushed furiously onto land. When the holy day of Shivratri approached in 1978, the people remembered the previous year's announcement by Bhagwan regarding the cancellation of the ceremony. But the prospect of such deprivation was so painful that thousands would not at first believe it. So, they continued to stream into Prashanti Nilayam in time for the occasion. Rumors were afloat that Bhagwan would be at Vrindavan that day. Maybe Shivratri would be celebrated at Vrindavan, or would it be at Hyderabad? But Bhagwan did not oblige. He was in the Nilgiri hills and returned only 2 days later. College campus. The magnificent row of buildings which comprised the Sri Satya Sai College near Vrindavan was opened at a joyous and colourful function by Bhagwan on 19th of May 1978. The Karnataka Minister for Education, Sri Subbaya Shetty, inaugurated the library building with the Pragyana Pradarshan on the first floor. The Pradarshan contains an impressive collection of chart, drawings, and pictures showing phases of japa, dhyana, yoga, and puja. It has photographs and models of the holy places of India, books of all major religions, and portraits of saints, mystics, and thinkers of all faiths adorn the place. The sayings and teachings of Bhagavan, explained and illustrated, find a place of prominence. To be among these records means being reminded of the inevitable journey to God. That oft forgotten goal becomes clear once again. The auditorium was inaugurated by Srimati Govind Narain, while Sri Govind Narain, the governor of Karnataka, inaugurated the summer course in Indian culture and spirituality, which commenced on the same day. The discourses during the first week were all on the Bhagavata Purana, which is about the former avatars of the Lord, including Krishna. Bhagavan said that the youth of the country suffered the imposition of pointless and purposeless curricula. They were being shaped in colleges into recalcitrant unemployables and sent out into the world with begging bowls called degrees and diplomas. They saw through foreign eyes, thought along borrowed concepts, and held only film stars as their ideals. They had become rootless saplings, drifting with every whiff of wind. Their patriotism was not even skin deep, for they had no knowledge of or love for their traditions and culture, their poets and saints, their fellow men and homeland. Dr. Benito Ruiz, president of the World University in Ojai, California, who attended the course and stayed with the participants, commented in high appreciation on the benefits derived from it by Westerners who had no knowledge of the depth and vastness, the value and validity of the spiritual message of India, so vividly perceptible in Bhagavan. He quoted T.S. Eliot and said, "Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information?" And answered, "It is here." The 665. No sooner had the summer course ended than the organizers were persuaded to accept another assignment, which was more spectacular and more fundamental, managing at Brindavan a 10-day orientation course on spiritual education for 665 teachers from the elementary schools of Andhra Pradesh, deputed for training by the state government. The government had planned a well-nigh revolutionary project of recasting the elementary schools for children between the ages of 6 and 12 years in the entire state, providing special emphasis on prayer, music, dance, painting, modeling, and parent cooperation with the teacher, so that the schoolhouse became a house of work, worship, and wisdom, of love and service, of spiritual discipline and yoga. Dr. Chenna Reddy, first as governor of Uttar Pradesh and later as chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, knew about the Bal Vikas classes conducted by trained gurus of the Sri Satya Sai Seva organizations and had watched the children grow into self-reliant, cooperative, service-minded, revering parents, elders, and teachers. So he prayed to Baba to give the 665 teachers an orientation course, holding the camp in the college campus at Brindavan itself, so that they may benefit by the impact of His grace and from exposure to the simple, unaffected band of students whom He had trained as examples of His message. The teachers were chosen at random from the outlying villages of every district. They had no time to prepare for the journey into a vastly different linguistic and climatic region, the state of Karnataka, nor were they aware of the discipline, the do's and don'ts, spontaneously honored at the Brindavan campus. But the 10-day stay was amazingly alchemic. Baba entered their hearts and made them soft and pure. Several deep rooted habits, such as smoking, eating harmful foods, and arguing aloud, were jettisoned without a tear, while a sense of dedication was added to their professional skills. They began to feel like patriotic warriors who were engaged in driving away the demons of sloth and selfishness from schools, restoring to children their heritage that they had been denied so long. Bhagwan had planned lectures by devoted teachers in the morning hours. He formed 10 groups of 30 teachers each who met on alternate days to discuss among themselves the feasibility and necessity of the suggestions that arose in these lectures. The reports of these discussions were placed before Bhagwan in the evening, and Bhagwan would choose some outstanding conundrum that required further analysis and clarification by him. Bhagwan also personally supervised the teachers' boarding and lodging and inquired about their health and requirements. He gave woolen rugs to those who had not brought any with them, sets of books to some, and cassettes of his bhajan and discourses to others who had access to cassette players in their villages. He posed for photographs along with teachers and trainees from each district and also arranged for each one of them to receive a free copy on the day the camp ended. Most of the teachers desired to visit Mysore and Puttaparthi, besides going around Bangalore itself, but they could not afford the cost. So they appealed to the government of Andhra Pradesh to loan them some money, which they all agreed to repay out of their salaries. When he learned of this, Baba himself arranged for buses and saw to it that they were loaded with hampers of food and plenty of fruits, with which the teachers could regale themselves while on the road. The teachers were filled with admiration at the intelligent and hearty response they received from the student volunteers deputed to attend to their needs. They concluded that it was the love that Bhagwan embodied and showered on those whom he chose that had molded the students in his college into young men, of whom the nation could be proud. When the teachers left the campus and the presence of Baba, they were all in tears. The face of divinity. Towards the end of the course, on the 8th day, the trainees had the singular good fortune of listening to a talk given by Dr. Frank G. Baranowski of Arizona University on the uniqueness of Bhagwan's aura. This speech equipped them with faith in the divinity of Baba, a precious possession that would fortify them throughout their lives. Dr. Baranowski said, "I was not brought up in any belief, though I am a Christian by birth and a Roman Catholic. The scientific community in my country finds it difficult to accept God. It is not scientific, they assert. The aura that Swami projects is not that of a man. The white was more than twice the size of any man's. The blue was practically limitless. And then there were gold and silver bands beyond even those, far beyond the building, right up to the horizon. I am risking my reputation when I make the statement. 2 days ago, right outside this hall, I looked into his eyes. They had a glow in them. It was clear to me that I had looked into the face of divinity. If ever I can use the phrase, I have seen love walking on 2 feet, it is here." On 14th August 1978, Bhagwan formed the Lok Seva institution into a new trust, the Sri Satya Sai Lok Seva Trust, of which he agreed to be the president. This he did at Mundanahalli, where there are schools and hostels maintained as part of the Lok Seva complex. Bhagwan concluded the formalities of the transfer and change of name. He later addressed the members of the trust, teachers and students. This holy institution was established by Narayan Bhatt quite early in his life. He was ever eager to offer pure and unselfish service. So he planted the seed which had now grown into this tree. We have arrived at the stage when we can eat the ripe fruit, but this tree has also to be well cared for by us. The mosque. The Muslim festival of Ramzan in 1978 was a landmark in the history of Puttaparthi. For the Muslims of that village celebrated Eid in the mosque that Bhagwan had built for them. It is a simple and spacious mosque with an ambience of spiritual fragrance. Professor Basharuddin of Osmania University expressed the gratitude of the Muslims of the region and described with a vast gathering how the impact of Bhagwan's teachings had made him a more understanding practitioner of the message of the Holy Quran. Janab Fakhruddin, convener of the village Muslim committee, offered thanks to Bhagwan for this gift of love, saying, "We had earlier to walk 4 miles to Bukkapatnam through sun and rain, slush and sandy riverbed to recite our prayers." Bhagwan told the Muslims that the real significance of the Ramzan fast was to be near God and detached from sensual desires. He also said that the Ramzan month was one during which the Holy Quran was communicated to Muhammad. The message of Bhagwan is that the truly religious will neither deny the validity of any particular religion or group of religions, nor declare that salvation can be secured through one path only. So he encourages all those who have faith to march forward along their chosen paths, whichever religion they may follow or be born in, since all spiritual paths lead to the same goal. Prolong your lifespan. Dashera 1978 began as usual with the hoisting of the Prashanti flag over Prashanti Mandir and the celebration of the annual day of the Sri Satya Sai Hospital in the evening. That same day, Bhagavan touched the hearts of the massive gathering of devotees present when he gave them the most worthwhile reason for preserving and promoting their health. The one grand reason for maintaining health, which I am urging you to do, is that you have yet to witness and delight over many more Leelas and Mahimas, expressions and manifestations of divine qualities, far surpassing those you have witnessed so far, and many more wonders, victories, and triumphs. You can thrill with ecstatic delight when you witness these. So guard yourselves carefully, maintain good health, and keep your hearts ever filled with joy, he said. During the discourses related to the Vedic Yajna, which lasted for a full week, Baba expounded the meanings of various scriptural passages. The verses from the Gita, which he prescribed for repetition while saying grace before every meal, were given special emphasis by him, for they remind one of the immanence of God in the food made ready, in the fire that was used for cooking, in the cook, in the one who ate it, and in the activities which the eater could fulfill as a result of the strength that the food conferred on both his body and brain. Dashera is an occasion when thousands from all over the country and abroad see for themselves the triple ideal of Sai education: duty, devotion, and discipline, practiced by the boys and girls of Bhagavan's colleges. They can listen to these students speak profoundly on a variety of topics, share their own intimate experiences of love and service towards Sai and towards all those upon whom he bestows his grace. They can also be audience to plays, choirs, and orchestral music by students from all parts of India and from places as different and far apart as Hawaii, Fiji, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and Libya. Integration of mankind is no more an armchair dream. It is being realized here. Save villages from cities. 25,000 people gathered at Prashanti Nilayam for the birthday festival in 1978. Bhagavan emphasized that it was not because of the birthday that so many people had assembled, but it was because they assembled that the birthday was celebrated. I have no interest in publicizing the date on which this body, which I willed for a purpose, appeared amongst mankind. I want each of you to celebrate the day I am enshrined in your hearts as my birthday, he said. To those who wished him a happy birthday, he replied, "This is a superfluous wish, for I am always happy." This festival included a musical recitation by students with the college orchestra providing excellent accompaniment to a narration of the story of the Sai avatar. Baba exhorted everyone to transform daily living into truly living, visualizing God as the very breath of life. Bhagavan had called delegations of Seva Dal units, comprising men and women living on Sai ideals and trained for service to the distressed, the disabled, and the diseased from all over India. He directed them to engage themselves more in rural areas where the evils of city life were becoming rampant. Villagers were misled. They imagined the city dwellers to be happier amidst cinema houses and cars, immersed in exotic and intoxicating lifestyles. They do not realize that their physical, moral, and economic stamina is being corroded by gambling and drinking, by noise and slogans, and by the rowdiness that thrives on such life patterns. Save them from moral and physical pollution, he commanded. When one of the district conveners suggested that the Seva Dal members should always carry with him a mini first aid box so that he could serve people more often, Baba modified the contents of the box, saying, "Carry in it a few tablets of discrimination and detachment, an ounce or two of self-control, a packet of love, and a bandage strip of fortitude. Only then can you effectively render first aid to people suffering from a stroke of ego or a bout of greed, a jaundiced vision, or an allergy to serving others." On 28 November 1978, Baba laid the foundation stone of the College of Arts, Science and Commerce at Prashanti Nilayam. In the northeast corner, Baba laid the first line of stones after sanctifying the spot and placing there 9 precious gems created by him in the palm of his hand. Baba wills that every college must have an auditorium as magnificent as the college itself and also a special building as impressive as the rest for the library. He considers a library to be a fundamental part of every educational institution. He selected Sri Ramanathan Chettiar of Madurai and the Rajamata of Navanagar for laying the foundation stones of these two allied constructions. Isa Sai. Christmas brings thousands into the presence of Baba, for they find in him the teacher who can reveal the true glory of Jesus and lead them along the path illumined by the Son of God. Baba told them that day, carols and candles, readings from the Bible, and staging plays about the incidents from the life of Jesus are not enough. When Jesus declared that the bread of the Last Supper was his flesh and the wine his blood, what did he really mean? He meant that every being alive with flesh and blood was he himself and ought to be treated so. That is to say, every living being is divine. Therefore, no distinction should be made between separate physical bodies as good or bad, friend or foe, we or they. Baba also revealed that Jesus' actual name assigned to him by his parents was Isa, and Isa, when constantly repeated, echoes Sai. Both words mean Ishvara, God. Baba said, In the Tibetan monastery where Jesus spent many years, his name is recorded as Isa, which means Lord of all living beings. The Tamils celebrated the new year on 14th January 1979. So Baba flew to Madras to bless them on that day and to inaugurate the construction of a Dharmakshetra, an arena of righteousness in that city, which was to be called Sundaram, to complete the series, which had started with Satyam in Bombay and continued with Shivam in Hyderabad. The festival also had the overtone of a harvest celebration, as the farmers of Tamil Nadu offer gratitude to the bullocks that helped them grow grain and the cows that gave them milk. They boil the milk on ceremonial hearths and allow it to boil and spill over as a symbol of abundance and happy sharing. The Telugu New Year Day was celebrated in March, and Baba heightened the joy of the celebration by being present at Hyderabad for a full week. He called upon the city dwellers to serve the villages, to which they owed much, by helping the farmers and artisans to combat poverty, disease, and exploitation. Meanwhile, on 30th January 1979, Swami entered the west coast harbour town of Mangalore in Karnataka state to proceed to Alike, the headquarters of the Sri Satya Sai Loka Seva Trust, which runs two huge educational complexes for children, mostly from rural regions. One complex is at Alike itself in the midst of the valley, nestling among the spurs of the Western Ghats. The other one is at Mundanahalli, on the foothills of the mountain range around a Nandi peak in the plains to the east. Alike is a dream come true, a vision vivified by faith and hope, as if divine grace had shaped itself into its dormitories, playgrounds, libraries, classrooms, and gardens, a hermitage where the heart of the late Madiyala Narayana Bhatt throbs in the activity of the increasing band of devoted teachers, an academy with palm groves whispering Sai Ram to every breath of wind. Led into the light, Baba's discourses dispelled the gloom that had descended upon the district when its patron Narayan Bhatt was killed in a car accident. He restored joy in the hearts of the students, numbering over 1,000, the more than 60 teachers, several well-wishers of the project who had cooperated with Narayan Bhatt, its founder, and stood by him through thick and thin, the grateful parents and guardians of the thousands of boys and girls whose careers had been shaped by the Loka Seva institutions, the old students who were rendering service in various fields of activity, and the farmers, traders, and workers from the village and plantations lying in the region. Baba likened Alike to a place of pilgrimage when he noted that you pay sincere attention to the development of the children under your care and transmute them into worthy children of India. Before returning to Brindavan, Baba visited Puttur and Chokkadi village near Alike, Mangalore, and Manipal in the same coastal district. At Manipal, the center of a popular educational complex built around well-equipped medical and engineering colleges, Baba found at 11 p.m. at night a gathering of at least 15,000 people waiting for darshan. Such was their longing to have a glimpse of the Lord and to listen to his voice. The summer course in Indian culture and spirituality in 1979 laid emphasis on the Bhagavad Gita. For one full week, attention was concentrated on this universal scripture which propounds and elaborates upon the three paths of karma, action, bhakti, devotion, jnana, knowledge. Bhagavan's daily discourse provided simple and satisfying commentaries on the philosophical principles underlining the teachings of Lord Krishna to his diffident and deluded warrior friend Arjuna. Swami, like Krishna himself, exhorted the student participants to do their best without calculating the odds and leave the rest to God. He declared, as Krishna had done on the battlefield, that victory is the reward for the brave, and that bravery is drawn from the Atman, the inner spring. Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer of the Supreme Court of India, while inaugurating the month-long course in the presence of Bhagavan, said, "It is time that we wean our colleges from becoming houses of vice and violence, with students getting addicted to drugs and cultivating only materialistic desires. Baba's balm of prema must penetrate karma, kindle jnana, and sublimate into dharma." He spoke on the inadequacy of science and its inability to restore peace, morality, and brotherhood. He stressed that India must discover her soul and listen to the voices of sages. Bhagavan pointed out that leaders of today had no will to promote moral and spiritual excellence in their people, while the people themselves had no urge to warn their leaders of the disasters that lay ahead, when this foremost duty was neglected. Swoosh. Dennis Eversole, who was among the 200 overseas students at the course, speaks about its impact on her thus. What is it like at the summer course? Let me throw out some adjectives to see if I can highlight its essence. Packed, hot, uncomfortable, thrilling, awesome, pure essence, inspiring, stretching, blissful, catalytic, cathartic, revitalizing, transforming, beautiful. Here we were at the feet of the same soul, which was the historic Krishna, who first communicated the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna about 5,000 years ago. As Sai Baba explained to all the students the true meaning of spiritual life and how to live it, I found every question I did ever have had completely answered. Karen F. Blank summarizes the message conveyed by Baba. All life is a meditation. Formal prayer and what you think of as meditations are means, not ends. They are good and are meant to help prepare the mind for concentration. But along with such spiritual exercises and practices, there must be examination of individual and collective attitudes. Instill and cultivate in yourselves love and respect for all religions. Return home and do God's work wherever you are with conviction, confidence, and enthusiasm. If life ever becomes difficult, remember these evenings and think of me. Call on my name, and I give you this promise that I will always heed your call. You will never be alone again. Karen went on to describe a thrilling miracle which happened on one of the evenings. The participants had many a chance to thrill at miracles that occurred whenever they were in Baba's presence. But this was a big one, really first class, said Karen. Maynard Ferguson, the world-famous jazz artist, gave a concert for us, about 1,200 people, one night at the auditorium of the college. Baba was seated in the middle of the stage and Maynard Ferguson was standing next to him on the right. He played Indian classical music set to jazz, with Baba tapping away at the beat gently with his hand. Then Ferguson played an incredible trumpet solo with all his heart. Baba stood up and made a large circle clockwise with his right hand. Swoosh! Out of the air, in front of everyone, Baba materialized a solid gold medallion suspended from a chain and placed it around Ferguson's neck. There was no movement in the auditorium, not a flicker. It was as if time stood still. Overwhelmed, Ferguson wept like a child, just as we sat there with tears in our eyes and a sob in our throats. Why was it so beautiful? Maybe because we all knew at that moment, without question, what we had once known as little children, but had forgotten since. There is a part in all of us, at the very core of our being, that wants to believe in angels, that good triumphs over evil, that Jesus did really walk on water, and that Moses had once parted the Red Sea. We want to believe all that, and regardless of what we say, we want to stand by the good guy, and we ourselves want to be good. That is why we wept, and that is why it was so beautiful. The medallion was not a magician's trick. It was made for us all. It was so that we all could know, once and for all, that it is so as it is written. As soon as the summer course ended, Baba returned to Prashanti Nilayam with a large number of students from various colleges who desired to spend a few more days in his presence at the International Temple of the Sai Avatar. There, a Satya Sai College was inaugurated on 1st July, the first year classes being held at the Ishwaramma High School building itself. The buds blossom. The avataric mission of restoring humanity to man and raising him to godhood are being translated into action by Bhagavan through educational reconditioning. He has blessed a worldwide project which supplements the state-directed, institutionalized secular education. It is called Bala Vikas, which means blossoming of the child. Children in the developed countries and by contagion in the developing nations also are exposed to the ills of the machine age, the clash of isms, the conflict of races, obsession with war, the dominance of violence, and overindulgence in sensual pleasures, and the flouting of all morals. The Bal Vikas roots back the child to its age-old culture so that it may grow strong and straight. It instills a sense of reverence towards parents, elders, and teachers who are repositories of learning. It encourages self-knowledge, self-reverence, and self-control while enveloping the child in the warmth of divine love. Children grow up under the watchful care of teachers, whom Baba has blessed with the sacred title Guru. The teacher, upon being confirmed that title, becomes bound to remove, as Lord Shiva does, the weeds of evil from the tender mind, to sow, as Lord Brahma does, seeds of courage and compassion, and to foster, as Lord Vishnu does, good thoughts, good speech, and good deeds, elevating the profession of a teacher into a task carried out by the Holy Trinity. Baba has developed schools called Vidya Vihars, education through joy, where children are fostered after being admitted as whole-time inmates. When the children enter their teens, they are taught elementary texts on spiritual discipline, besides being introduced to the techniques of yoga, social service, choral service, meditation. These classes are referred to as Pre-Seva Dal. High schools that have been set up by Baba in several places pay special attention to the development of character and to programs of sadhana and social service. Then there are the colleges where the most impressionable years of adolescence and youth are spent under the gracious guidance of Bhagavan himself. Students are my hope, the source of my delight. They are what I live by, says Baba. His kingdom. During the Dashera celebrations in 1979, students of different religions from the Sri Satya Sai College in Puttaparthi presented themselves in their ceremonial costumes and described to the great delight of the vast gathering the main principles of each religion. A Sikh from New Delhi, a Zoroastrian from Bombay, a Christian from Hawaii, a Muslim from Libya, a Buddhist from Sikkim, and a Hindu from Kabul were the participating students. When Baba stood in the center of the group as they finished, all were pleasantly surprised that Sai, the sum of all religions and the goal of all sadhana, had condescended thus to teach them the unity of faith. The students of Sai colleges have mastered the art of coordinated labor. They have presented orchestras and plays on Sri Ramakrishna, Shankaracharya, and Jesus, besides having set the Ramayana and the Sai stories to music. Bhagavan is, of course, the invisible and also almost always the visible source of all their achievements. While inaugurating the first anniversary of the Association of Old Boys of the Sri Satya Sai College at Brindavan, Baba directed them to utilize all their resources and talents in the service of the villages around Brindavan, after keen study of their urgent needs. Students must spring like tiger cubs into the arena of the villages and cleanse them of pollution. They must teach and train the illiterate residents of the villages to live happily and with dignity. They must strive along the villages and lead them forward. Baba also said on that occasion, I am encouraging these boys to be examples of the strength and equanimity that can be gained by constant practice of my message. I am ever prompting them to speak and recite, sing and enact this message so that it is instilled in their hearts. Whatever I do or get done, whatever I say or direct others to say, it is to emphasize, clarify, or exemplify this message, the Atmic reality of man. Bhagavan's message and the master projects planned for its realization drew many educationists, administrators, scientists, communication experts, and psychologists to the colleges he had founded. Seminars on spiritual and moral guidance were held at the Brindavan College. Summer schools brought together college professors from all over the country, besides overseas countries including Singapore, Philippines, Fiji, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, and USA. Bhagavan conversed with groups of vice chancellors, headmasters, professors, scientists, and technicians, unraveling to them the insidious causes of the universal malaise and revealing the curative measures urgently needed. As a result of the impact of these conversations, the Satya Sai Study Circle was formed in Bangalore to probe into the defects of the educational system and for restructuring and reforming it on Sai guidelines. Swami assured the group, I promise you that I will be with you and take an active part in guiding the activities of the study circle. Truly, the avatar has no rest. But as Bhagavan says, had I needed rest, I would not have incarnated. During the birthday festival week in 1979, 2000 Bal Vikas Gurus met at a conference in Prashanti Nilayam. Bhagavan blessed them and enlightened them on the problems that they have to encounter and promised to reveal to them the solutions whenever they prayed for light. The play Jesus was presented by the students on 22nd November. The costumes, the sets, and the actors appeared so authentic that the audience of 25,000 responded with a continuous ovation lasting several minutes. Jesus Christ was very accurately portrayed as the Son of God, with mercy, power, and love in his voice, gestures, and reactions. Shiva on the spot. Devotees who sought the home where Bhagavan incarnated as Satyanarayana, the home of the parents, Pedda, Venkappa Raju and Ishwaramma, were for years shown an empty patch of land at the end of a rubble track in Puttaparthi. They were sad that no holy structure marked that spot after the Prashanti Mandir and the temples of Ganesha had come up on the outskirts of the village that was immortalized by the birth, childhood, and boyhood of the greatest avatar in human history. They pleaded with Bhagavan and prayed in unison. So a simple but charming temple was constructed there, in which Baba installed an idol of Shiva on 22nd November 1979, fulfilling the long-cherished desire of millions. The avatar's decision to declare the cloistered village, Puttaparthi, still lacking even in several basic amenities, as the hub of the Sai Dharma Chakra, wheel of righteousness, raised around the mandir rows of 3-storied residential flats, banks, shops, and a bus station. Besides these, it has added to itself a resplendent suburb with ornamental arches at both ends, containing rows of magnificent structures comprising the elementary and high schools and the College of Arts, Science and Commerce, besides a hostel for over 1,000 students. In June 1980, Baba visited Jammu and Kashmir, the northernmost state of India, famed through the centuries for the artistic genius of its people, for its mountain ranges, which are the source of several rivers, and for the harmonious blending of cultures and races. He spent 10 days amidst the people until it became difficult to decide who loved the other more, the people of the state or Bhagavan. The march of love continues, fresh, full, and free.